everybody, this is the Spark Kids Ministry Online, and this is the online version of our Wednesday night program, even though it's a little bit of a different schedule this week because of Easter. We're going to be doing things just a little bit differently because Sunday is Easter. But one thing we're going to keep the same is that we're going to start off with a game, and this is something that everyone can play. So here in just a moment, what you're going to do is you're going to pause this video, you're going to click on the link in the description, and then you are going to watch a video of something that I've been getting into lately, which is marble races, a surprisingly intense sport where two marbles race against each other in a course, and you see which one finishes first. So what you're going to do is when you click on that link, you'll put in your name, and you will pick the marble that you think is going to win. Once you do that, it'll let you click on the link to go to the video, watch the video, cheer on your marble, and we'll see if you're the winner. And anybody that chooses the correct marble will be put into the drawing for this week, and you have a chance to win a prize. So go ahead, pause this video right now, click on that link if you'd like to play the game, and then we'll get on with the rest of the show here in just a bit. And there you have the surprisingly intense world of marble racing. Who would have known? Hopefully you enjoyed the game this week, and hopefully you were a winner. And we're going to go ahead and move things along here. The next part of our program is when we usually check in on Ian. So as we have the last couple of weeks, we're going to pull her up on FaceTime here, and we'll see what Ian's up to. Give her a call. It's ringing. There she is. Hi, Ian. How are you doing?
Oh, just great. How are you doing?
Oh, doing pretty good, you know, staying busy. What are you up to?
Well, I can keep it busy. I'll show you some of the things I've been doing this week. One of them was I did some painting on my windows for people.
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of people doing that.
Yeah, and so I had that project this week. I made sure I kept a little teddy bear in the window in case there's some people that go on a bear hunt. You know?
That's right. Yeah, that's another good thing a lot of people are doing.
Yeah, and then another thing I've been doing, and it's just whenever I feel like it, when I don't get tired of it, I've been sewing masks.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
for people that need a mask.
Yeah, what a great project. That's awesome, Ian.
Yeah, I've been doing that, and I was getting ready to sit down and work on my egg project.
Oh, for the virtual Easter egg hunt.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
A really good design for that. And also on Friday, I'm going to do the project that Jim sent out to the church family, and then you can take your QR reader and you can just click on each one, and it'll take you to a link.
Okay.
You'll be able to do that.
Great.
And so I just stayed really busy. What about you? What have you been doing?
Oh, you know, just a lot of stuff, doing the videos, and we've got the family project with the Easter eggs and just all that kind of stuff. Kids are working on, of course, their e-learning and everything is going on, so we're staying busy. Just a lot of different projects. We've been able to play outside a lot lately. The weather's been really nice, and
well, I've been doing a lot of stuff around here too. I really like your video on the Zoom, you know, like the little Roomba things.
Yeah, the balloon bot challenge. Ian, what are you doing there?
Well, Adam, I'm getting ready to go out, and you know, you can't be too safe these days.
You guys see this? You see what's going on here? Oh my goodness, Ian.
Yeah, I've got some gloves. They're gardening gloves, but I think they're protected. I use so much year-round.
Okay, so yeah, it looks like you're pretty well protected there, Ian. I can't hear you a whole lot. You're a little muffled in your mask there, but
Oh, I put it back on. I got one more thing. Like I needed this.
Oh, okay. Where are you going? What are you doing?
I said, well, I'll get my mail.
Oh yeah, okay. You're getting the mail.
I gotta go out and get the mail in the mailbox.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
keep it safe.
Okay. I'd say you're staying safe then. That's good.
I am staying safe. I want everyone to stay, but I really miss the kids. But stay safe for just a little while longer, I think.
Okay, all right. All right, well, I'll let you go get the mail then, Ian.
Yeah, I might have to put on a winter coat today. Yesterday I was out in a t-shirt mowing, but it's gotten cold.
Got a little cold, yeah. All right, well, I'll talk to you later, Ian. Thanks for talking to us.
Bye, Adam.
All right. Well, there you go. There's Ian. You never know what to expect with her. She's always got to keep us on our toes, but looks like she's doing okay. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and get into our announcements before we get into our Bible story today. So as we get into our announcements today, we're kind of just taking a look back at what activities have been going on this week. And if you missed out on any of these, you've still got a little bit of time to get in on before the deadline on Friday at noon. So first of all, on Monday, we had our Bible study sheet, something that we want to continue doing to make sure we're staying in the habit of getting into the Bible on a regular basis. We used to have the paper form and we had our Wednesday night program going up regularly, but now it's gone online. We've got the online version of that. And kind of a fun little bonus that we had with that this week is that we had our Disney Pixar Balloon Bop Battle. We started that off last week. We went through the first round of that tournament, and you can jump in, even if you didn't do that last week, you can jump in on it. Tacked it on to the end of the Bible study sheet where you can pick your favorite Disney Pixar characters and cheer them on in this tournament as they try to pop the balloons, and we'll see who the champion is this week on Friday when that video comes out. Next up on Tuesday, as we usually do, we had our family challenge, and this week it was a coloring an Easter egg, because coming soon we've got a virtual Easter egg hunt coming out. That'll probably be up on Saturday, so be watching for that. And if you haven't sent me your eggs, I've got several of them. Here's a few beautiful eggs. We've got quite a few have been sent to me already. We were able to get them printed off, and we'll hang these up all around the church building. And we'll have a virtual Easter egg hunt where you can walk through the building and you'll be looking for those different eggs. And you can even take your mobile device and be turning around looking like this. It'll feel just like you're walking through the church building and look for those Easter eggs. We'll see how many you can find. If you haven't had a chance to send me your Easter eggs yet, there is a link on Tuesday's video that you can click on where you can download a PDF. If you are not able to do that, you can just do it on a blank piece of paper, make them nice and big, and then you can post those on Facebook with the hashtag #TheSparkEgg, and I'll be sure to get those printed off and include them in our virtual Easter egg hunt. Or you can just email those to me at adam@fccfrancisville.org, and I can print them off from there. So either one of those ways, get those Easter eggs in. I'd love to have a bunch of them to hang up all around the building. Next up is Sunday morning. Sunday is Easter, so just want to invite you to join us for our Easter service on Sunday morning. Other stuff going on for Good Friday in the meantime, but check it out at fccfrancisville.org for the live video stream, something that we've been doing the last few weeks. And if you don't have a church family that you normally attend or have been watching these last few weeks, we'd love to have you be a part of that service as well. So love to have you check that out. That does it for our announcements. At this time, we are ready to get into our very important Bible story. Here we go. So our Bible story today is really such an important story because it's really what it's all about. It's the reason that the Spark Kids ministry exists, and it's the reason that the First Christian Church of Francisville exists, and it's the reason we celebrate at Easter time. It's all about Jesus and how he died on the cross for our sins and how he came back to life. And that's really what it's all about. And so as we get into the story today, we're going to see some clips of a video that we shot last summer at camp at the Ark Christian Ministries. And a few of us from here at church worked together with a bunch of our friends from different churches across the state of Indiana in order to put this video together, put this project together to show a little bit of what it would be like for Jesus at the time of his crucifixion. And so as we get into the story, just watch for those clips. And if you watched the lesson last week, you know how we talked about the religious leaders and how they had been plotting to silence Jesus. Jesus had been teaching in a way that challenged what the leaders had always believed, and he had been living in a way that challenged how the leaders lived their lives. And they just really did not like that. They weren't happy with Jesus. And one of Jesus's closest friends, whose name was Judas, knew that the religious leaders were after Jesus. And so he decided to make a deal with them and told them where Jesus would be in exchange for some money. As you see, Judas knew that Jesus would be praying after the Passover meal. Jesus went to pray in the Garden of Gethsemane, and you might remember a little bit of that from last week, and it probably looked a little bit something like this.
My Father, my soul is crushed to the point of death. If it is possible, take this cup of suffering from me. And yet I pray that not my will be done, but that your will be done.
So then there at the Garden of Gethsemane, the leaders sent soldiers to arrest Jesus and allowed the mob to take him, but his closest friends scattered. And many of them took off running and went into hiding. Peter and John, however, followed Jesus at a distance, and the mob took Jesus into the courtyard of the high priest. And while Peter was there, a servant woman noticed him and asked Peter if he was one of Jesus' disciples. Well, Peter didn't want to get in trouble. He didn't want to get arrested himself, so he said that he didn't know Jesus. Inside, the high priest questioned Jesus, and he asked Jesus about his teachings and about the men who followed him. And this was Jesus' response. He said, "I have spoken openly to the world," Jesus replied. "I always taught in a synagogue or at the temple where all the Jews come together. I didn't say anything in secret. Why question me? Ask the people who heard me. They certainly know what I said." So out in the courtyard, Peter stood with some others around a fire to keep warm. We can imagine what that would look like because it's getting dark outside and they're staying warm. And as they huddled around the flame, someone asked Peter whether he was one of Jesus' followers. And once again, Peter said no, that he didn't know Jesus. And then yet another man recognized Jesus and asked if he had seen Peter in the garden with Jesus. And once again, Peter said no. And just then the rooster crowed, and suddenly Peter remembered what Jesus had said. And sure enough, he had denied Jesus 3 times, just like Jesus said he would. So the high priest decided to send Jesus to the Roman governor for some more questioning. And so the soldiers took Jesus away to the governor, whose name was Pilate. And Pilate questioned the religious leaders to find out what charges they were making against him. And the leaders insisted that Jesus committed crimes. And why else would they have brought Jesus before him? And Pilate and the leaders argued for a while back and forth, but eventually Pilate took Jesus inside for questioning. And then he had Jesus taken back outside for the crowd. And Pilate told the crowd he saw no reason that Jesus should be arrested. And he offered to set Jesus free as a part of the Passover tradition. And it was either Jesus or this prisoner. And when he asked the crowd insisted that Jesus not be set free.
"I will release to you either one, Barabbas the murderer or Jesus the one you call your king."
Give us Barabbas! Give us
And eventually, Pilate gave up, and he turned Jesus over to the soldiers, and they whipped him, and they put a crown of thorns on his head, and they put a purple robe on him to mock him. Pilate brought Jesus out before the crowd, and he told them that he saw no reason to keep Jesus. But the crowd insisted. When Pilate asked what he should do with him, they shouted out, "Crucify him."
What would you have me do then with your king?
Crucify
So the soldiers took Jesus and they nailed him to the cross, and they raised it up high and put a sign on him that said, "King of the Jews." And Jesus' mother, Mary, her sister, and Mary Magdalene were there. And when Jesus saw them, he called down from the cross and asked John to take care of his mother. And Jesus hung on the cross, and eventually he knew that his time had come, and he yelled out the final words, "It is finished."
It is
After Jesus died, 2 men took his body to be buried. And fortunately, the story doesn't end there. If it ended there, we wouldn't celebrate at Easter time. But the story goes on. Early on Sunday morning, Mary went out to the tomb, and Jesus had been buried in a hurry, and she wanted to make sure that he had received a proper burial. But she saw that the heavy stone that had been blocking the tomb had been rolled away and that the tomb was empty. Mary ran to the home where the disciples were staying, and she told Peter and John that someone must have come and taken Jesus' body. And the 2 men ran to the tomb, and inside they found the strips of linen and cloth that Jesus had been buried in, but Jesus wasn't there. And Peter and John headed back home trying to make sense of what they had seen, but Mary stayed behind. And as she stood outside the tomb crying, she leaned in and saw 2 angels sitting there where Jesus' body had been. And they asked her why she was crying, and she answered them, and she said, "They have taken my Lord away. I don't know where they have put him." And then Mary turned around and saw someone, and she thought it was the gardener. And the man asked her why she was crying and who she was looking for. Mary pleaded with the man to tell her where Jesus' body had gone, thinking maybe he had taken it. And then the man said her name, and he just said, "Mary." And that was all it took. Suddenly, Mary realized who it was that she was actually talking to and realized that it was Jesus. And he was alive. And Mary turned toward Jesus and cried out, "Teacher!" But before she could reach out to him, Jesus spoke again. And he said, "Do not hold on to me. I have not yet ascended to the Father. Instead, go to those who believe in me. Tell them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." And Mary ran to tell the disciples the best news ever, that she had seen Jesus and he was alive. And Jesus chose to enter death for those he loved, and he defeated it. He is alive. It's the best news ever for everyone. Jesus put us first, and that's why we celebrate at Easter time. Because Jesus is alive, he proved once and for all that he is God's son. And when we put our trust in Jesus, we can have a relationship with God that will last forever. You know, it cost Jesus everything to put us first. He was willing to die so that we could be forgiven and have a relationship with God that would last forever. You see, God is perfect and we're not. We mess up, we sin, and our sin separates us from him. And ever since sin entered the world, that has always been our biggest problem. But God had a plan. He had always had a plan to bring his people back to him. Jesus, who never sinned, took on our sin. He paid the price for it on the cross. When we put our trust in Jesus, we can live forever. Because he died, we can live. Now, some of you may have already put your trust in Jesus. Some of you may be thinking about it, or some of you might have questions and not really sure what it all means, but if you want to know more, I'd encourage you to reach out and ask. You can send me a message or talk to me, or you can talk to your parents or talk to somebody that you feel comfortable with that could answer some of your questions. Because it's the most important thing that we can do, to put our trust into Jesus. It's all possible. It's possible for us to have a home in heaven because Jesus put us first. Jesus died on the cross, and he's still alive today because he came back from the grave. Jesus is alive, and that's a reason to celebrate. And all the Easter eggs and all the stuff with the Easter bunny, it's all a lot of fun. But hopefully that all just reminds us that this is a time that is special to us because we celebrate the fact that Jesus is alive. So let's celebrate this Easter. Let's celebrate because Jesus is alive.
Darkness rejoiced as though heaven